The wind howled across the rugged shores of Oak Island, carrying with it the whispers of centuries-old secrets. For Rick and Marty Lagina, this desolate stretch of Nova Scotia was more than a windswept plot of land. It was a puzzle, a labyrinth of mysteries that had defied explorers for over 200 years. The brothers stood at the edge of the garden shaft, their faces weathered by months of relentless drilling, their hearts pounding with the kind of hope that only comes from chasing the impossible. They had poured their lives into this quest, driven by an unshakable belief that somewhere beneath the earth lay a treasure that could rewrite history. The Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, Shakespearean manuscripts, pirate gold, the legends swirled like the fog that clung to the island's jagged cliffs. But for the Laginas, it wasn't just about the treasure. It was about proving that the impossible could be conquered. The rhythmic churn of the drill echoed through the morning air, each rotation a heartbeat in the island's ancient pulse. Rick, his eyes fixed on the depth gauge, stood shoulder to shoulder with Marty, whose hands gripped a worn notebook filled with coordinates and calculations. They were close, closer than anyone had ever been. At 93 feet, the drill bit struck something solid, not the soft earth or limestone they'd grown accustomed to, but wood. Hard, ancient wood. The crew froze, the air thick with anticipation. Rick's voice broke the silence, steady but laced with excitement. "This is it, Marty. We're in the money pit." The words hung heavy, a declaration that sent a surge of adrenaline through the team. For decades, the money pit had been the heart of Oak Island's enigma, an elusive vault rumored to guard treasures of unimaginable value. And now, after years of toil, they had pierced its outer shell. The discovery was a spark, igniting a fire of possibility. The wooden structure at 93 feet confirmed what the brothers had long suspected. They were standing on the threshold of something extraordinary. But the island was a jealous guardian, its secrets buried not just in dirt, but in layers of danger and deception. The tunnel, they soon learned, didn't end at the wood. It stretched westward, a shadowy path beckoning them deeper into the unknown. Every inch gained came at a cost. The glacial tumulus system beneath the island, a chaotic network of limestone caves and water-filled hollows, threatened to flood their progress at any moment. The crew worked with the precision of surgeons, knowing that a single misstep could collapse the shaft or drown their hopes in a torrent of seawater. Time was their enemy, a relentless force that pressed against their ambitions. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the site, and the brothers knew their window was narrowing. Legal permits, as unyielding as the island itself, forbade deeper excavation during this season. The restriction gnawed at them, a bitter reminder that even their resolve couldn't bend the rules of bureaucracy. Yet they pressed on, driven by the tantalizing prospect of what lay just beyond their reach. The team dismantled the drilling equipment with care, each piece packed away like a sacred relic, as if it held the promise of answers yet to come. Marty, ever the pragmatist, checked and rechecked their coordinates, his mind racing with calculations. Rick, the dreamer, stared into the shaft, his thoughts lost in the centuries of seekers who had stood in this same spot, chasing the same dream. As the day wore on, a new challenge emerged from the depths. One of the crew, a seasoned explorer named Tom, volunteered to descend into the narrow tunnel to inspect its base. The air grew tense as he donned his safety gear, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone. The shaft was a claustrophobic maze, its walls slick with moisture and history. Tom's descent was slow, deliberate, each step a test of nerve. Then, a sharp crack split the air. A bullet, fired from some unseen source, grazed past him, missing by inches. The crew gasped, hearts pounding as Tom scrambled back to the surface, unharmed but shaken. The island, it seemed, was not done testing them. Rick's face hardened, his voice steady as he rallied the team. "We've come too far to turn back now. Whatever's down there, it's worth the risk." The near miss only fueled their determination. In a stroke of ingenuity, Marty suggested using the bullet's trajectory to map the tunnel's path. If someone, or something, had fired it, perhaps it was a clue, a marker left by those who had hidden the treasure centuries ago. The idea was a gamble, but on Oak Island, every step was a roll of the dice. The team recalibrated their approach, aligning their efforts with the westward trajectory. They hadn't yet inspected the tunnel's base, but the possibility that it could lead to a hidden chamber or vault was too compelling to ignore. The brothers exchanged a glance, a silent pact forged in years of shared obsession. They would follow this path, no matter where it led. With time slipping away, they called upon another tool in their arsenal, a CTX 3030 metal detector, wielded by Sarah, a team member whose expertise had uncovered relics on countless digs. She descended into the shaft, her movements precise, her focus absolute. The detector hummed to life, its signal cutting through the damp silence. Then, a beep, sharp, distinct, and unmistakably non-ferrous. The crew erupted in hushed excitement. Iron and steel were common on the island, remnants of past expeditions, but a non-ferrous signal hinted at something rarer: gold, silver, or perhaps something even more extraordinary. Sarah's voice crackled through the radio, steady but tinged with awe. "It's strong, Marty. 10 feet down, maybe less. This isn't junk metal." The signal was a beacon, pulling them deeper into the island's mysteries. The brothers leaned over the shaft, their minds racing with possibilities. Could this be the moment they'd dreamed of since childhood, when they'd first heard tales of Oak Island's treasures? The air seemed to hum with the echoes of history, conjuring images of medieval knights, Templar secrets, and ancient rituals. The island had long been linked to the Knights Templar, with legends suggesting they had buried sacred relics, the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, within its depths. Carbon-dated artifacts, some centuries old, had surfaced over the years, lending credence to these tales. The brothers knew the stakes. Their treasure trove license granted them 90% of any find, but the island's secrets belonged to no one. Other claimants, from local families to distant historians, could emerge, each with their own claim to the riches. The non-ferrous signal was a turning point, but it came with a bitter edge. The legal restrictions that bound them meant they couldn't dig deeper, not yet. The shaft, already unstable, was a labyrinth of risks, its walls threatening to collapse under the weight of the island's geology. The glacial tumulus system, formed by ancient ice and water, had carved a network of caves that made every move precarious. Water seeped into the shaft, a reminder of the floods that had thwarted seekers for centuries. The brothers stood at the edge, torn between elation and frustration. The signal was a promise, but one they couldn't yet claim. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire and shadow, the team gathered their equipment and prepared to retreat. The island, as always, had revealed just enough to keep them hooked, but not enough to satisfy. Rick ran a hand through his hair, his eyes fixed on the shaft. "We're close, Marty. Closer than anyone's ever been." Marty nodded, his jaw tight. "We'll be back. This island doesn't get to win." The words were a vow, a challenge thrown at the very earth beneath their feet. The crew packed up, their movements slow but purposeful. Each bag, each tool, was a testament to their resolve. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and the weight of history, yet they stood unbroken. The island's secrets were vast, its obstacles formidable, but the Laginas were no ordinary seekers. They were driven by a hunger that transcended time, a need to unravel the enigma that had drawn men to their doom for centuries. The bullet, the signal, the wooden structure at 93 feet. These were pieces of a puzzle that stretched back to the 18th century, to a time when pirates roamed and knights guarded sacred relics. As they walked away from the shaft, the island seemed to watch them, its silence a challenge of its own. The money pit was more than a hole in the ground. It was a gateway to the past, a test of human endurance. The brothers knew the risks. The island had claimed lives, fortunes, and dreams. Yet they also knew the reward. Somewhere beneath the earth lay answers, not just to the treasure's location, but to the question of why it had been hidden with such care. Was it a deliberate act, a treasure place to be found by those worthy enough to claim it? Or was it a trap, designed to ensnare the greedy and the hopeful alike? The stars emerged, pinpricks of light against the darkening sky. The crew's voices faded into the night, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the distant crash of waves. Oak Island stood as it always had, a sentinel of secrets, its mysteries locked in stone and soil. For Rick and Marty, the journey was far from over. The non-ferrous signal lingered in their minds, a siren call that would draw them back. They would return with new tools, new plans, and the same unyielding determination that had brought them this far. The island had tested them, but it had not broken them. And as they left the site, their footsteps echoing on the ancient ground, they carried with them the certainty that the next chapter of this saga was yet to be written. The treasure, whatever it was, waited below. Gold, relics, or answers, it didn't matter. The pursuit was its own reward, a testament to the human spirit's refusal to surrender. Oak Island was a battlefield, a riddle, a dream. And for the Laginus, it was home. They would chase its secrets to the end, through danger, through doubt, through time itself. The island might guard its truths, but the brothers were relentless, and the hunt would go on.